What happens when a powerful CEO, disguised as a trainee, walks into one of his own stores and catches a manager screaming at a pregnant employee in front of the whole staff? Franklin Latner had built his company from the ground up after buying it from a struggling owner 8 years ago. Back then, there were only 2 stores. Now there were 6. The growth had been steady, but lately the numbers from Store 4 didn't add up. Sales were fine, but employee turnover was the highest of all locations. Customer reviews were inconsistent. Some were glowing, others were brutal. Franklin was tired of hearing filtered updates from his district manager, who insisted it's just a staffing issue. He needed to see it for himself, so he shaved his beard, dyed his hair dark, and wore thick glasses. He dressed in a faded polo shirt and khakis, the kind they gave to new hires. He'd never met the staff at Store 4. None of them had been around when he bought the company, and it was a busy enough chain that no one would question a new face. He called himself Rick, a new trainee transferred in from another location. "Ready to learn?" the store manager, Brad, asked him when he walked in. Brad looked about 35 tall with a sharp jaw and a clipboard permanently tucked under his arm. "Absolutely," Franklin said, smiling. "Cool," Brad said, not looking up from his notes. "Clock in and stay out of the way." "I don't have time to babysit today." Franklin raised a brow but kept his mouth shut. The first hour was chaos. 2 kitchen workers were missing and a cashier had apparently quit mid-shift the day before. No one explained anything to him. He helped where he could, restocking cups, cleaning trays, wiping down the soda machines. By the second hour, he noticed a young woman, maybe in her 20s, running orders to tables. Her name tag said Danya. She moved slower than the others, but her smile never left her face, even as sweat dotted her forehead. Her stomach was clearly showing she looked about 7 months pregnant. "Hey, you okay?" Franklin asked her quietly as she set down a tray of food. She nodded quickly. "Yeah, just short on people today. It's kinda always like this." "Doesn't seem right," he said. She glanced at him. "It's fine, I need the hours. I'm due in 2 months. Franklin felt something tighten in his chest. Brad stormed by, barking orders at a skinny teen by the fryer. "Travis. That basket's been sitting for 5 minutes. Are you trying to get us sued?" Travis flinched and dropped the basket into the oil, burning his hand. He hissed and stepped back. "Use your damn brain," Brad yelled, then turned and walked into the back office. Franklin followed the flow of the shift, watching everything. A pattern was forming. Brad didn't do anything but bark orders and disappear into the office every 15 minutes. The assistant manager, a soft-spoken woman named Carla, was trying to keep things together, but she looked exhausted. Around noon, the lunch rush hit like a wave. Orders piled up. The kitchen was falling behind. The printer spat out tickets faster than they could keep up. Danya was running the food out herself because the runner had called out sick. Franklin saw her trip slightly near the soda station. She caught herself on the counter, breathing heavy. He walked over. "You okay?" She nodded, but her hand clutched her side. "Braxton Hicks, probably. I just need water." Before Franklin could say anything, Brad came out of the office and saw her leaning. "Oh, for God's sake, Danya. If you can't handle working, then don't show up. I'm not running a daycare." The entire store went silent. Danya straightened slowly, her face pale. I'm fine. I just needed a second." "I don't care. You're dragging everyone down. You either keep up or go home." Franklin felt his stomach turn. Something in him snapped. He stepped forward. "That's enough." Brad didn't even look at him. "Back off, Rick. You've been here 5 minutes. "No," Franklin said, his voice sharp. "You don't speak to her like that, ever." Brad finally looked at him. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Franklin reached into his pocket and pulled out his ID, flipping it toward him. "I'm Franklin Latner. I own this company." Brad's face went completely blank. The room stayed silent. Carla froze near the register, eyes wide. Travis dropped the tongs he was holding. Danya looked like she might cry. "You're the—" Brad started. "Yeah," Franklin cut in, "and I've seen enough." Brad opened his mouth, but Franklin held up a hand. "Office. Now." Brad hesitated, then walked stiffly toward the office, shoulders tight. Franklin turned to Danya. Go sit down, I'll cover you, take your time, she nodded, trying to breathe through the shock. Carla stepped forward. I didn't know he was gonna say that, I swear. I know, Franklin said. We'll talk. But right now, just keep doing what you're doing. He followed Brad into the office and shut the door tight behind him. Brad stood stiffly. I didn't know who you were. If I had, Franklin cut him off. You think it matters who I am? You talk to a pregnant woman like that in front of the whole staff. Brad's jaw clenched. She's been slowing everything down. We're short-staffed. Then ask for help, Franklin shot back. You don't scream at someone who's 8 months pregnant. You don't scream at anyone like that. Brad's voice started to rise. You don't know what it's like here. We're always short. People call out, walk out, lie about being sick. You think I can run this place with 3 people? Franklin stared at him. Then you should have called for support. Or stepped in yourself. Instead, you hide in this office and bully people. Brad didn't respond. You're done here, Franklin said. Effective immediately. What, wait, you're firing me right now. Brad looked like he was going to argue, but the look in Franklin's eyes stopped him cold. He grabbed his jacket off the hook and walked out without a word. Franklin stepped back into the kitchen. Brad's gone, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. The kitchen went still. Carla, he said, turning to her. Can you run point for now? She nodded slowly. Yes, I can. Good. Let's keep going. We'll talk soon. Then he grabbed a pair of gloves, tied an apron around his waist, and stepped onto the line. Franklin washed his hands at the prep sink, dried them with a paper towel, and pulled a pair of gloves on. The kitchen was running on autopilot, but the energy had shifted. People were trying not to look at him too much, but he could feel the tension rolling off them. He didn't blame them. Grills behind, Carla called out, pointing to the ticket rail. You want to help on assembly, or can you handle the flat top? I'll take the flat top, Franklin said without hesitation. She gave him a wary nod and moved to the expo station. He stepped into position and scanned the tickets. It took him a few seconds to get reoriented. It had been years since he'd cooked anything in one of his stores, but the muscle memory came back fast. He dropped patties, flipped buns, and kept his eyes moving between timers and ingredients. The staff around him began to relax. After 20 minutes, the lunch rush started to taper. Carla handed off Expo to a crew member and walked up beside him. You're quicker than I expected. Not my first time behind a grill, Franklin said, keeping his eyes on the spatula. I guess not, she said, then wiped her hands on her apron. When did you plan on telling us who you were? When I figured out what was going on here. Carla leaned against the counter, arms crossed. So how bad is it from your angle? Franklin lowered the heat on the burner. I've got thoughts, but I want to hear yours first. She hesitated. You want the polished version or the one that'll probably get me fired? I'm not here to punish honesty. Carla nodded once, then spoke low. Brad wasn't always like that, not at first. When he got promoted, he was decent. But about 6 months ago, he started treating people like liabilities instead of human beings. I think he was buckling under pressure, but he refused to ask for help. Started blaming the staff for everything. People quit, morale tanked, and it turned into this. Did you report any of it? I sent emails. I called the district office twice. I never got a call back. Franklin kept his tone even. That's going to change. She glanced toward the dining area. Half of the people out there are working double shifts today. Danya picked up extra hours to cover for someone who no-showed. She's been on her feet since 8. She didn't tell me that, Franklin said. She wouldn't. She doesn't want to lose her hours. But she's close to breaking. Franklin pulled the last burger from the grill and shut it down. You free to talk in the office? Yeah. They stepped into the narrow hallway and into the office. It smelled faintly of burnt coffee and cleaning solution. Carla sat in the chair opposite the desk. Franklin stayed standing. Walk me through who's holding this place together, he said. Besides Danya, Carla asked. Travis, he's young, still learning, but he shows up, doesn't complain, learns fast, even when no one trains him properly. And Marisol, she covers drive through most days. She's the reason we haven't had a meltdown back there. Franklin nodded slowly. And who's been covering for Brad when he disappears? Me, she said. And sometimes Marisol unofficially. Who assigned the schedules? Brad, but he'd change them last minute. He'd text people outside of their shifts, guilt-trip them into coming in. If they said no, he'd cut their hours the next week. Franklin didn't answer right away. He paced once across the small room, then turned back. You interested in running this store? Carla sat up straighter. You're asking if I want his job. I'm asking if you can lead without tearing your people apart. She didn't answer immediately. I'd need support. This place is understaffed and the walk-in's been acting up for weeks. If I'm going to do it right, I need more than a title. You'll get what you need, he said. Starting today. Carla blinked, then nodded slowly. Franklin walked back into the kitchen. Danya was near the sink, sipping from a water bottle. She looked like she was trying to keep herself upright by sheer will. You're off the clock, he said gently. She straightened. What? You've done more than enough for one day. I'll drive you home. I can't, my shift's not over. It is now. She looked around as if unsure whether to believe him. I won't get written up. You'll get paid for the full shift and you'll still have hours next week. Danya's lip trembled. Okay. Let me grab my stuff. Outside, the late afternoon sun was casting long shadows across the parking lot. Franklin unlocked his car and opened the passenger door for her. She got in slowly, wincing slightly as she lowered herself onto the seat. They drove in silence for a few minutes before she spoke. I didn't mean to get anyone in trouble. You didn't, he said. What happened today was long overdue. She looked out the window. I was scared to say anything. I thought maybe I was overreacting. People always say it's just a job, don't take it personal, but it's hard not to when someone yells at you like you're nothing. You're not nothing, Franklin said, and no one should have to be afraid of coming to work. She gave a small nod. I've been saving up for the baby. Just trying to get through these last few weeks, and after that, I don't know. Maybe find work I can do from home, I'm not sure yet. He pulled into her apartment complex. It was modest but clean, with a small playground off to the side and rows of identical beige buildings. Take the time you need, Franklin said. When you're ready to come back, your job will be here with better conditions. She looked over at him, eyes wide. Why are you doing this? He didn't answer right away. Because I should have seen it sooner. She nodded slowly, then opened the door. Thank you. For today. After she disappeared inside, Franklin sat in the car a moment longer. He thought about the emails that had gone ignored, the missed signs, the way his own systems had failed to protect people like her. It wasn't enough to remove one bad manager. The cracks went deeper. Back at the store, Carla had pulled the team into a huddle near the back line. They all looked exhausted, but no one had gone home yet. Franklin stepped inside and stood beside her. I know today was intense, he said, addressing the room. And I also know it's been like this for a while. No one spoke, but a few heads nodded. Starting now, things are going to change. Carla's stepping in as acting general manager. She'll be supported, and so will all of you. We're hiring more staff. We're fixing the equipment. And no one will be spoken to the way I saw today. Travis stood near the fryer, wiping his hands with a towel. Will you be coming back? I'll be around, Franklin said, but you won't need me to fix things. You'll have the tools and the leadership to do it yourselves. Marisol spoke up next. Are we allowed to report things directly to corporate now without it getting buried? Yes, Franklin said, and I'll be setting up a direct line for that. Anonymous if you need it. The room stayed quiet for a beat, then Carla took a step forward. We've got another hour before close. Anyone who wants to leave early, you can, no penalty. No one moved. Franklin gave a small nod. I'll stay and help finish out the shift. It wasn't about the grill or the scheduling or even the profits anymore. It was about the people who had stayed, even when they had every reason not to. And he wasn't going to leave until they could finally believe they mattered. Franklin arrived early the next morning before sunrise. The parking lot was still empty except for Carla's car, parked in the back corner away from the front lights. The air was cold, sharper than usual for spring, and the sky was just beginning to brighten. He unlocked the back entrance with his master key and stepped inside. Carla was already in the office, sleeves rolled up, paperwork spread in front of her. She didn't look up when he entered. "Morning," Franklin said. She scribbled something on a form and nodded. "I've been going through the scheduling software. It's a mess. I don't know how he kept track of anything." "He didn't," Franklin said. "He just pushed people until something broke." Carla sat back and looked at him. "I spent an hour last night calling people who quit in the last few months. Some didn't answer. The ones who did said they might come back, but only if things really change." "They will," Franklin said. She narrowed her eyes. "You sure you're ready for what that means?" He leaned against the doorframe. "I came here expecting to find inefficiencies. I didn't expect to uncover a culture running on fear." Carla folded her arms. "Then maybe you should have visited sooner." He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled out a folded sheet of paper and handed it to her. "This is a list of every repair request submitted from this store in the last year. None of them were processed." Carla skimmed the list. "I sent in 4 of these myself. I know, every one of them was marked as low priority or duplicate ticket." She set the paper down. "So someone's been burying requests at corporate." "Not anymore. I've reassigned facilities oversight. Everything on that list is scheduled for assessment by Thursday." Carla shook her head. "It's like the deeper you dig, the more rot you find. Which is why I'm not leaving it up to chance anymore. You're going to have final say on what this store needs. Not a spreadsheet 3 states away." The front door buzzed open. Marisol walked in, tying her apron behind her back. She blinked in surprise when she saw Franklin. "You're here again." "I said I'd be," he said. "Still true." She eyed him carefully, then walked past toward the break room. Franklin turned back to Carla. "I want to hold a meeting today, everyone who's scheduled and anyone else who can come in. Paid time, I'll cover whatever they miss." Carla stood. "You want to do it before open?" "Right after lunch rush. They need to see we're not just patching holes. We're rebuilding the frame." By noon, the dining room had filled and emptied twice, and the backline had finally caught up. The pace was steadier and the crew moved with something close to rhythm. Carla called for a 30-minute close. Franklin helped lock the doors, then pulled 2 tables together near the front. 6 employees gathered, all in uniform, some still holding drinks or wiping their hands on napkins. Travis sat near the back, eyes darting around like he wasn't sure if he should speak. Franklin stood in front of them. "I'm not going to give you a speech. You've probably heard enough of those." The group stayed silent. "I'm here because I didn't know how far off track we'd gotten, not until I saw it myself. I saw people holding this place together with nothing but grit and duct tape. I saw workers stepping up while the person in charge disappeared into an office. That's not leadership. That's abandonment." Marisol leaned forward slightly. "So what happens now? You're going to help fix it," Franklin said. "Every one of you." Travis cleared his throat. "How? I'm not just asking for feedback. I'm giving you authority. I'm creating a rotating feedback board. Every week, a different 2 people will act as liaison with management. You'll gather concerns, suggestions, equipment issues, anything. You'll meet with Carla and me directly. Nothing gets filtered." One of the kitchen staff, a woman named Janelle, raised her eyebrows. "That sounds good, but won't it just become another thing people ignore?" "It will, unless we act on it," Franklin said. "Which we will, and you'll see the changes in real time." Carla stepped forward. "We're also rewriting the shift scheduling process. No more last-minute changes. No more guilt tripping anyone into covering doubles." Marisol crossed her arms. "And what about the raises we were promised 6 months ago?" Franklin nodded. "Those never went through, I checked. They were submitted but never approved. That ends today. Carla's going to reevaluate everyone's performance and raises will be issued by the end of the month, retroactive to when they were first promised." The room went still. Janelle looked down at the table. "I didn't think anyone was actually keeping track of that." "I wasn't," Franklin said, "and that's on me. But starting now, I am." Travis leaned forward. "If we're being honest, a lot of us thought we were just replaceable. Like if we didn't show up, someone else would be plugged in the next day." Franklin met his eyes. You're not replaceable. That's the lie bad managers tell people so they don't have to care about them. Marisol tilted her head. You really think this is going to stick? Yes, he said. Because you're going to help enforce it. Carla spoke next. I want you all to hold me accountable. If I slip up, if I stop listening, call me out. I'd rather hear it than let things fall apart again. The room stayed quiet for a long second, then Janelle nodded. All right. Let's see what happens. By the time the store reopened, the mood had shifted again, not cheerful but lighter, focused. People moved with more intention. Orders came out faster. No one raised their voice. Franklin slipped into the back and dialed his assistant. I need to schedule visits to every other store within the next 3 weeks, he said. No more delegating inspections. His assistant hesitated. That'll push back your strategy meetings. Reschedule them. This is the strategy now. He hung up and stepped back onto the floor. A customer spilled a drink near the soda fountain, and before anyone could respond, Travis grabbed a mop and cleaned it without being asked. Franklin watched him for a moment, then walked over. You ever consider moving into a lead position? Travis blinked. Me, you've got instinct. And you step in without being told, Travis shrugged. I guess, I just don't want people getting hurt. That's exactly the kind of person I want leading shifts, Franklin said. Let's talk about a training path for you. Travis looked like he didn't know whether to believe him. Franklin clapped him on the shoulder once and walked away. He stood in the dining room, arms crossed, watching the team move. They weren't perfect, but they were trying. And now they had a reason to, and for the first time in a long time, so did he. The following Monday, Franklin sat in his office on the top floor of the company's original flagship location, a small 2-story building across town from where everything had unfolded. The blinds were pulled halfway, letting in the late afternoon light. A stack of new policy drafts sat beside him, edges marked in blue ink, pages creased from review. He hadn't touched his coffee. There was a knock on the door. Come in, he said without looking up. Lisa, his operations coordinator, stepped in with a tablet tucked under her arm. She closed the door softly behind her. We finished the exit interviews with the last 3 former employees from Store 4, she said. Franklin looked up. Did they agree to meet in person? 2 did. The 3rd asked to do it over the phone while she was on break from her new job. Said she didn't want to waste gas coming back to a place that never listened. Fair, he said. What stood out? Lisa sat across from him and pulled up the notes. It wasn't just Brad. That was the loud part, but the quiet parts weren't much better. People said they stopped reporting issues because nothing came of it. One said she filed a harassment complaint and never got a single follow-up. He leaned back in his chair. That's on us. I agree, she said. I also pulled internal response times for all store-level HR reports filed in the last year. 73% were closed without direct contact with the employee who reported it. Franklin's face hardened. Lisa kept going. And there's no consistent definition being used for resolved. In some cases, it just meant a manager said they'd talked to the person involved, nothing documented, no follow-up. He tapped a pen against the armrest. What would you do if this were your name on the building? I'd stop relying on top-down reporting, she said. Put something in place where workers can speak for themselves without worrying someone 3 rungs above them is going to toss it in a drawer. Franklin nodded slowly. Do it, Lisa blinked. You're serious? I want a pilot program starting with Store 4. Anonymous reporting, biweekly listening sessions, and a third-party conflict mediator for anything more serious than a scheduling mix-up. She gave a short nod. I'll write it up tonight. As she stood to leave, Franklin added, one more thing, I want a clean audit of every location's shift policies. Compare the actual hours worked against the schedules submitted. Look for off-the-books labor. Lisa didn't hesitate. I'll handle it. After she left, he sat still for a long while. The silence in the room wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that came after something cracked open and you had to stare into it before deciding what to rebuild. Later that evening, he returned to Store 4 unannounced. The parking lot was half full. and the lights inside cast a soft amber glow onto the sidewalk. He slipped in through the side entrance near the supply room, catching the smell of grilled onions and something deep-fried. Carla was at the register, helping a new cashier navigate the screen. She glanced over and gave a short nod when she saw him. He waited until the line cleared, then approached. "How's it going?" She motioned toward the kitchen. "Better. Still a lot of learning curves, but people are talking to each other now, not past each other. Anyone new started, too. And I've got 3 interviews set for tomorrow. Word's gotten around. People who used to work here are asking if they can come back." Franklin glanced toward the window where Travis was helping bag an order. "He adjusting to the new responsibilities," Carla nodded. "He's nervous, but he's paying attention. That's more than I can say for some managers I've worked under." Franklin paused. "Has anyone pushed back on the new systems?" One guy. Marisol caught him trying to guilt a coworker into staying late. She called him out in front of the whole shift team. "What happened next?" He apologized, and she told him that wasn't enough. He gave up the rest of his shift and came in early the next day to help with prep. Didn't complain once. Franklin let that settle. "That's the culture we want." Carla crossed her arms. "It's a start." He turned to leave but paused. "Have you heard from Danya? She sent me a message yesterday. Said her doctor recommended cutting back altogether until the baby comes. She asked if we'd still have a spot for her later. We will." Carla gave him a look. "You ever think about why it took all this for you to show up?" Franklin didn't flinch. "Every day since it happened." She held his gaze a beat longer. "Good." He left through the back door and walked toward his car. The night air was cooler now and a light wind picked up grit from the sidewalk. He unlocked the door but didn't get in. Instead, he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Franklin," said the district manager's voice on the other end. "Didn't expect to hear from you this late. I need you in my office tomorrow morning. Everything all right? I'll let you know after we talk." The next morning, Franklin sat across from him in the executive conference room with a single folder on the table between them. "I've reviewed every response you've sent to store-level reports in the last year," Franklin said. The district manager leaned back. "We get a lot of noise from the stores. You have to know what's worth addressing." "No," Franklin said. "You don't get to decide what's worth addressing. You get to respond, then investigate, then act." The man's tone shifted. "With all due respect, if we jumped every time someone complained," Franklin raised a hand. "You didn't just miss things, you actively dismissed them. You ignored 3 separate reports about Brad's behavior. All from different employees. You closed each one citing lack of evidence. I spoke to Brad directly. He denied it. And that was enough for you." The man didn't answer. "You're being placed on administrative leave as of now," Franklin said. "Your access to internal systems is suspended and a full review of your conduct is underway." The man stood. "So that's it. If it were up to me," Franklin said, "you'd be out already, but I'm doing what you didn't. I'm following process." He waited for the man to leave before picking up the folder and sliding it into his briefcase. That evening, back at Store 4, Carla stood near the prep station while Marisol double-checked the night inventory. A few crew members lingered near the front, wiping down tables, talking softly. Franklin stepped inside, walked to the counter, and motioned Carla over. "I want to open this store up for a staff-led training day," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "For who?" "New hires. Existing staff from other locations. Anyone who wants to learn what it looks like when a store actually works." She considered that. "You'll need to compensate everyone properly." "Of course. And I get to pick who leads the sessions." "Absolutely." She smiled for the first time since he'd met her. Not wide, but real. "Then I'll start planning." As Franklin walked back out into the dark, he passed Travis sweeping near the front door. The kid nodded at him, not stopping the motion of the broom. "Quiet night?" Franklin asked. "Yeah," Travis said, "but steady. I like steady." Franklin nodded. "Steady's something to be proud of." He walked to his car and stood for a moment before getting in, listening to the quiet hum of the street. No shouting, no chaos, Just the sound of a place learning how to breathe again, not because someone swooped in and fixed it, but because the people inside were finally trusted to build it right.